You know, most of us think we have a pretty good handle on the creation story from Genesis. But what if that story, the one we all know, is actually missing its first chapter? We're about to dive into a really fascinating interpretation from our source material that suggests the beginning isn't the real beginning at all. And that's the big question our source material is really asking. It's a pretty wild thought, isn't it? The idea that the biblical narrative doesn't actually kick off with the formation of a planet, but with a planet that was already prepped and just waiting for life.
This quote from the text really gets right to the heart of the argument. The author is pointing to this massive gap in the timeline. You see, the story describes a spiritual creation, and then, bam, we suddenly jump to a fully formed physical Earth. So the source asks the big question, what on earth happened in that gap?
Okay, so what does this missing beginning even look like? Well, the source material claims the scriptural account we read isn't about Earth's geological formation at all. No, it picks up way later, after all the heavy lifting was already done.
I mean, think about it for a second. The story starts with mists watering the ground ready for plants. But where did that topsoil come from? What about the minerals, the oil, the coal deep underground? The source argues that Adam and Eve didn't show up on a barren globe of lava rock. They stepped into a world that was already fully loaded and rich with resources.
So, if the Earth was already prepared, is there any other evidence to back this idea up? Well, the source points to another scriptural account, this one from Abraham, that adds a whole new layer to this mystery.
And this part is really crucial. According to the source, a text from Abraham actually confirms that the gods organized and prepared the earth, so the prep work for sure happened. But the text still keeps the how completely under wraps. The puzzle just gets deeper, suggesting the answers are out there. They just haven't been revealed to us yet.
And this is the source's answer to the big why. It suggests that this knowledge isn't lost forever. It's just being held in reserve. The text cites this passage, framing Earth's complete history as something that will be revealed in the future, like a great day of illumination for both science and scripture.
This all leads to the core idea of the source material, that some truths about where we come from are just beyond our current ways of figuring things out. They require, as the text puts it, revelation. And believe me, the specific revelations it talks about are truly cosmic in scale.
The text presents three pretty mind-bending claims. First, that our planet was originally formed near a great governing star called Kolob. Second, that time itself worked differently before the fall. And third, get this, that life on Earth didn't start here. It was brought here from other worlds.
Okay, let's just zero in on this time thing for a second. The source says that before the fall of Adam and Eve, time on Earth was measured after the time of Kolob. And on Kolob, one day is the same as 1,000 of our years. That single detail completely reframes the whole timeline of the early Earth.
So what about life itself? The source hits us with this quote attributed to Brigham Young, and it presents a radical idea, interplanetary transplantation. It's suggesting that older planets kind of serve as a parent stock for new ones like ours. In this view, Earth is the lucky recipient of life that actually started somewhere else.
Right, the obvious question is how? How could life possibly travel between stars? Now, the source doesn't exactly hand us a physics textbook here, but it does describe a process where a living being is temporarily changed or quickened. This state would apparently allow it to survive a trip through space without needing, a complex spaceship. All of this, the cosmic timeline, life from other worlds, it's all setting the stage for the most personal and maybe the most challenging claim in the entire text, the true origin of the first man, Adam.
So here we have two totally different ways of looking at that famous phrase, dust of the ground. The traditional view is very literal. Adam was magically formed from clay. But the source argues, no, that's not literal at all. It's actually a technical term that describes the process of being physically born.
And to really drive the point home, this powerful quote is used. The idea here is that Adam's creation wasn't some unique one-off miracle. The source is saying he was born through the exact same natural process as every single one of us.
This interpretation immediately brings up a huge and pretty obvious question. If Adam was born, well, who were his parents? And here it is, the source's answer, the one that ties everything we've talked about together. It claims Adam's parents were mortal beings from another world. So why isn't this in Genesis? The text suggests it was left out on purpose, probably to keep the story from spiraling into a super complex discussion of other worlds and other histories.
Now, to be perfectly clear, the source is really careful to separate its position from other origin theories. It states flatly that Adam did not evolve from lower animals, that there were no pre-Adamic men, and that he was, in the exact words of Scripture, the first flesh upon the earth, the first man also.
So, what do we do with all this? Let's try to pull it all together. The source presents the creation story not as something false, but as a deliberately unfinished history, a story with a very specific, chosen starting point. So let's just recap the 3 core takeaways from this interpretation. Number 1, the earth was fully prepared before the Genesis story even begins. 2, life on this planet was transplanted from other older worlds. And 3, Adam was a mortal man born into this world just like anyone else. Ultimately, the text argues that our recorded history has this intentional knot tied right at the very beginning. It's not that the story before that doesn't exist, it's that we were given a specific starting line, the Garden of Eden, with the promise that we'll get the rest of the story someday. And that leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought to chew on. Whether you accept this specific interpretation or not, it really forces you to ask a compelling question. If our history truly does have missing chapters, what parts of our own cosmic story are still out there, just waiting to be revealed?